where I can get a bunch of other ones in the morning.
It's
Really
good.
is.
Okay,
Before you get to
awesome.
Mexican,
Well, we have a little
I
bit
don't
of
know,
a
yeah.
change on the agenda because Sean had to get his PowerPoint set up, and I didn't have a PowerPoint today, so I mostly wanted to come up here and introduce myself and say that I'm really excited to be a part of this networking opportunity because I am fairly new to the Farm Bureau. I have a lot of experience with the State Farm Bureau, but what I've learned over the last 2 years is that what happens at the state is very different than what happens at the grassroots. We have all these great ideas at the state level, and we're like, just go and do it, and then you get to the ground level and you realize there are a lot of other things that go into making agriculture work and making advocacy work. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about what the Farm Bureau has been up to on the local and the state level. Hopefully all of you are familiar with the Farm Bureau. There are 53 county Farm Bureaus throughout the state. San Francisco is the newest Farm Bureau. And so our job is really to do advocacy work, to represent the farmers and ranchers at the local, state, and national level, talking about issues and bringing our story to people that are not connected to agriculture. During other intersections, it was neat to see that there is a great combination of people that have grown up in agriculture and people that are kind of newer to agriculture. I consider myself kind of new to agriculture as well. But when we are working on behalf of farmers and ranchers, we really keep that in mind too, is that not a lot of people are connected to agriculture when it comes to elected positions. And so bringing in the stories and bringing the issues onto their level is really important to help them understand what needs to happen for farmers and ranchers to be able to do what they do. And so 2024 and 2025 were a really big year for agriculture and advocacy. We ended the year with being able to secure a lot of money for wolves and livestock to address that situation, and then 2025 happened, and a lot of those funds they were used a lot faster than were anticipated. So the things that happen in the advocacy world, they can shift really quickly, as we've seen even in the last 14 days with the government shutdown. So some things that we talked about, some wins that we had was with AB 11, which is the livestock composting bill that passed. So that's been great for farmers and ranchers to have an alternative to things to do with their carcasses. As you know, imagine if you follow policy, there aren't a lot of big wins in agriculture. At the Farm Bureau, we are really excited when we get to go to our members and say, it could have been, this is what it started as, and this is where we are. So we do take those little wins, and some of those include when we advocated for the greenhouse gas reduction funds. So some of the asks that we had for the elected officials were $2 million for the farmer program. I'm sorry, $200 million for the farmer program, $200 million for the SAFER program, $50 million for the FPIP program, $75 million for sustainable agricultural waste management, and $75 million for livestock methane reduction programs. So there was some legislation that was passed for the greenhouse gas reduction fund, but it is lower than kind of what was anticipated from the beginning. But we do let our members know that we are at the state capitol, we are in Washington, D.C., really advocating for the needs of farmers. Back in April was when, May, was when California Farm Bureau took groups of Farm Bureau members to the state capitol. We met with our local officials as well as officials from different parts of the state. So my group, we went and we spoke to legislators from Orange County, and they had really a different connection to agriculture. And so we really tried to find the talking points that connect with people. And one that we have really been sharing a lot lately was with a study that was done out of Cal Poly with the Salinas Valley grower. And it's one grower, so they're hoping to expand the study, and hopefully you've heard of this one before, but a lettuce grower out of Salinas Valley recorded that since 2006, so 2006 to 2026, he had a 1,300% increase of compliance costs. So that's one grower, but that makes a big impact when we talk to people that aren't involved in agriculture, and we say that compliance costs went up 1,400%. That really puts into perspective things that farmers and ranchers can't control. So we are working on with Cal Poly to expand that a little bit. We're asking our growers to keep track of the compliance costs, because the more people we can get to submit information like this, the more pull it has with our elected officials. So when we were doing our advocacy, we also advocated for things that didn't get passed either the Senate or the House, but some things that are constantly on the mind of the California Farm Bureau is how can we support farm employees? How can we support people that were impacted by the overtime rules? How can we help growers and business owners be able to help their employees by giving them the overtime without it being a really big financial burden to the business? So we did work on SB 628, but that was killed very early in the session. But California Farm Bureau, we have an organization called FELS, and so they really work on how can we address this labor crisis, this labor issue, to make sure that everyone can do their job and support each other. And then another one that got a little bit closer, but now is an inactive file, was AB 1156, which was about the Williamson Act. And so it was a way for people for growers to get out of the Williamson Act to put in solar. And so the Farm Bureau really pushed the need of if there are loopholes for specific reasons, like that loses the integrity of the Williamson Act. So that is inactive, but in Sutter County, the Williamson Act is going to be coming up again very soon. So we've already started to talk with our growers and talk to elected officials about what the Williamson Act means to our economy, to agriculture, to the community that it supports really a lot. And then on the federal level, there's the Farm Bill conservation title that American Farm Bureau is working on. They're supporting market-based carbon programs and again trying to help lighten the load of regulation. So, and I guess my last thing to say is that the Farm Bureau has a lot of access to farmers and ranchers, and we are always looking for ways to collaborate and to share opportunities, to share grants with our growers. We get to hear a lot of the good things about agriculture, but then we also get to hear a lot of the struggles. And so when the Farm Bureaus know what opportunities are out there, that gives us the opportunity to start that conversation of like, hey, go to the cooperative extension. Hey, talk to these different groups. Hey, go up to neighboring counties, see what kind of opportunities are up there for you. So I'm excited to connect with you all. I see some familiar faces, and I look forward to being a resource. And so any information that you have that is relevant to Yuba and Sutter growers, please let me know. We have an e-newsletter that goes out once a week. We do Instagram and social media, and we really want to be a resource to get you all connected to your growers, to the people in our communities, and I say that on behalf of all the county farm bureaus. And I know the county farm bureaus work a lot with the groups that are here. So, any questions? Yes.
Yeah, what's the best way to include you in our outreach efforts or include Sutter County?
Yeah, so I have a card. So if you have flyers, if you're on social media, if you tag Yuba Sutter Farm Bureau, we do share things. But I think the best way to do it is through our e-newsletter. So if you have something for us, and then if you want to include some things that we have, I'm happy to email you. We do partner with different training organizations. We have speakers that come from California Farm Bureau and other partners. So I think just connecting, we can kind of brainstorm ways to get the word out there.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
So I'm gonna let it drop in the drop off.
Yeah, I see that.
It said it didn't happen. So I put it on a different,
Drive?
yeah, I think that other one might have been the problem. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll give it a go. should have.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yes.
Unless there's a way to let me drop on that file.
So Wendy with NRCS, she wasn't able to come today. So Allison, you next week, but.
Yeah, so I went to my office and dropped it. We'll see.
Oh, you did for him? Yeah. Did you turn your PowerPoint into PDF? It might.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I give it to Renee, she's gonna try to figure it out.
PowerPoint's working. Hi, everybody. So, once again, my name is Allison Smith. I'm brand new to Feather River Air Quality Management District. I have to remind everybody that that is Yuba and Sutter counties. It's a multi-district air district. And I'm going to be talking about our different grant programs that we provide for farms and ranches, as well as all of the other different grant programs that we provide. So one of the things that the air district requires for our grant programs is these incentives have to be for cleaner than required by law. So we can't, exchange a vehicle that is up against a compliance deadline. These are voluntary emissions reductions, and so that's why we're able to fund these different types of equipment. The two main farm grants that we have is Carl Moyer, and a lot of you probably heard it. Some of you might have even received a Carl Moyer grant before. Usually I'm in these meetings and I ask, who's got a Carl Moyer grant? Many hands go up. So what's nice about Carl Moyer, funding is very stable. So these are state funded. All the grants that we provide are all state funded. Recently celebrated 25 years. We're in Carl Moyer year 28 actually. So farms, businesses, and agencies may apply. We tentatively received $550,000 for projects this year. We also have a subset of Carl Moyer, which is the Rural Assistance Program, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide, which goes to our rural areas only, not other big districts. And then an offshoot of the Carl Moyer program is the Commercial Lawn and Garden Program that we're about to launch. So have a plug for that. As well as Farmer, and it is an acronym, Funding Agricultural Replacement Measures for Emissions Reductions. That's a mouthful. That one began in 2017, and that is only for farm businesses. Unfortunately, funding, like as the state budget goes, is variable, and was not funded since fiscal year 23-24. We're hoping that with some advocacy from folks that we talk to, we'll be able to get that funded again. And so this kind of gives you like a snapshot of the amount of money that Feather River has received over the years for the farmer program. This is a really cool infographic that the state puts out for every air district, showing the total amount of projects that have been funded. And we're hoping that this program can be funded once more, because it does a lot of work and a lot of great things for improving air quality, as well as helping farms with equipment replacement. So that's my plug for Farmer. So the program overview is, I did a lot of tractor replacements in Glenn County, which is where I came from. It's really cool to see some different types of equipment that's being funded in this area. I didn't know what a bin carrier was until a couple weeks ago. So those are some other unique pieces of equipment that do get replaced. So these typical projects that are funded through Moyer, although it's open to businesses and not just farms, a lot of times farms farms are what, mainly apply to these different programs. So the different types of equipment that we can replace are listed there. They must meet a cost effectiveness threshold, so that's kind of our main, step when we, evaluate projects. It is a cost share program required in legislature. We will, you will receive up to 65% of the quoted cost of the equipment. And then one application per business is allowed to apply. We do have a network of approved dealers that we work with, and so that is part of the requirements for this district. And then we do, what's really unique and interesting that I really like about Feather River is it's a random draw of who actually receives funding. You meet cost effectiveness, you get your application in on time, everybody has an equal chance of getting funded, whether you're a big giant farm with really great emissions reductions because you're gonna run that tractor 1,000 hours a year, to I was just at a very small farm and we did a UTV equipment replacement project where he's gonna run his 80 hours a year. It's still cost effective, it still meets this threshold, but yet we're still able to fund really small farms with this method. It does require contracting, and so that's a 3 to 10 year contract. We do our pre and post inspections, and then ultimately the old equipment does go to the scrapyard. So it does have to be destroyed in the end. That's kind of the overview of how Farmer and Carl Moyer works. So the timeline, so we're gonna launch this in January, and so I hope that some of you are able to kind of, get on, if you'd like to be part of our, you can get in touch with me to get the announcement when we do, announce this project. We're going to have a public workshop around mid-February, and that'll be online, and you can watch the workshop after the video. And then it takes, from anywhere from between 6 months and a year to eventually get your equipment, because not everybody's ready to purchase their equipment as soon as they're under contract. We do give you 6 months, and that's also a flexible timeline in order to get the new equipment. Prices change, we understand, things like that. Some people, might end up, having to kind of make a really big decision whether they're gonna actually scrap this old equipment and replace it. So some of the other types of, so Moyer, like I said, has a couple different offshoots, and the Rural Assistance Program is really great because all the leftover Carl Moyer funding at the end of the year goes to just the rural districts. And we also assist growers in applying for that, as well as anyone else who needs assistance, but any applicant can apply directly. So CAPCOA, I realize I'm very acronym. California, this is the organization for all of the air pollution control officers. They're in Sacramento, and they kind of are the middleman, and they take all the funding and select the projects based on cost effectiveness. And then we usually receive about 3 to 5 of these wrap projects, is what we call them, a year, which is in addition to all the other projects we get to do. And then the Commercial Lawn and Garden Program right now is funded by what's called the Moyer State Reserve, and right now we're using that for just zero emission equipment. So it's gas-powered small engines get replaced with zero emission battery. And this is a voucher program, which is first come, first serve. We got the check in the mail, I say, today, so I'm gonna be rolling this project out here pretty soon. And it allows you to replace your equipment with up to a certain amount of money, and that it sometimes covers 100% of the cost of the equipment, plus additional charging equipment. So the other, we have 3 programs open right now, although it's very soon to be closing. The Community Air Protection Grant, which is nice because we can use some of those, what we call CAP funds, for farms and funding our Moyer program. And so depending on this current solicitation, we might have some additional funding to use for that. We also have the Blue Sky Grant Program, which is through DMV fees. And then the Wood Smoke Reduction Program, if anybody is a Yuba or Sutter County resident and has an old pre-EPA certified stove, I have enough money for about 3 more projects. And then we also have the mini grant program, which is also part of the DMV fees. And that will happen more in early 2026. Some of these programs, I already run the wood stove smoke, I know a lot about it, but the other 3, I might have to get back to you if you do have questions about those specific programs. So if you're interested in getting more information information about our grant programs, this links you to our website. You can also email me, I can put you on a list, and you can get notified when grant programs are open.
I have a question.
Yeah,
The 3 to 10 years on the Carl Moyer, the contract,
yeah, so, yep, so those equipment contracts.
so what does that entail, like?
So based on that, so depending on how many years you're in contract, it gives you a grant amount, and so that's part of what I call the magic calculator. And so, we give you the most amount of money we, allowed by the cost effectiveness, and so that could be up to, it's a minimum of 3 years, but it could be as much as the 10 years. So the contract itself is, you know, every year you have to report to us, and if you provide us documentation that you've used your equipment, say you have usage reports, or okay, I rented this equipment, you know, 200 hours a year, and you provide documentation, we don't have to write that into the contract. But if you can't, say like a UTV didn't have an hours meter on it, you would have to commit to meeting a minimum hour requirement based on your application. So say you said, all right, I'm gonna put 150 hours on this a year, you have to show us that, and then we do have a random audit, which is only about 5% of projects. I've been running around doing those lately, to just make sure and verify that people are reporting what they have, what's actually being put on their equipment. So mainly it's a usage component. You have to own it for that length of time. That's kind of, it's called a standard contract, so that it's showing that it's meeting the grant guidelines as well as the usage requirements. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you.
I think we got the technical difficulties out of the way. We're gonna try it one more time. Okay.
Oh, right.
Perfect. All right, finally got it working. Thank you. So I'm John Nelson. I'm with the Sutter County Ag Department. I'm an agricultural biologist. I've been there for about 10 years almost. So kind of how our department works, we're kind of broken up into like 3 subsections. Lisa Herbert, she's our ag commissioner. She's everywhere, doing everything all at once. So she can't really do everything. So if you try and call her, you're gonna have to schedule an appointment like a month out in order to meet with her. Nick Oliver, he's our assistant commissioner. He's running around a lot too. We have 3 main divisions. The pesticide use enforcement, I work in that division. Scott Bowden is our deputy. We do a variety of different licensing and continuing education. I'll talk more about that in a second. Becky Mendonza, she's our deputy commissioner for our ag programs that we run through CDFA. And then Andrea Euler, she does our weights and measures division, where we're certifying weights and measures devices, weighmaster programs, all that fun stuff. So continuing education, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that since I know some of you guys in here I invite to come speak at our CE classes. I am the coordinator for that, so I get to run that. I do 4 classes a year, usually 2 in November, 2 in December, just kind of depends on when Thanksgiving falls. Each class I get about 3 hours of CE for our growers. And we got representatives from the Cooperative Extension, Fracum, you're going to be talking this year, I think. Farm Bureau comes. We even get the CHP to come talk about transportations, laws and stuff. And they actually do a pretty good presentation every year. And then we work hand in hand with Yuba County for the most part because our offices are literally, I think, 1.7 miles apart from each other. So Matt couldn't be here. He would usually do this with me, Matt Bozo. He's kind of the Yuba County representative that does this stuff. If you ever need to call Yuba County, ask Matt. These are our classes this year. I've kind of already fully scheduled them out this year. But if you are dying and you want to talk at one, let me know. I might be able to give you 10 minutes or so at one of them. If you want to do it next year, grab my card, email me. I can get you in. If you really want to talk to our growers, they're nice people. So the other stuff I want to talk about is kind of the concerns and issues we're dealing with in our department. This last 2 years actually, Vertebrate control problem has been a huge issue, specifically with ground squirrels. We have one almond orchard this year that had 100% of the almonds eaten by squirrels. It was crazy, never seen anything like that before. Part of the reason is when we have issues, or when we have growers that have issues with that, we will direct them to the Cooperative Extension website. Those are honestly the best resources for dealing with them. They limited the use of phosphine gases for control of them, so growers don't have easy access to those products anymore, and it's kind of left them to either trapping and or shooting, which is not really the most effective way. So that's kind of the issue we've been having with this large outbreak of ground squirrels. Again, the UC Cooperative Extension website is where we kind of direct all of our growers to go look up info on how to deal with them. So this is the product, the Weevil-Side tablets, phosphoxin. They used to just throw tablets in, they off-gas. They are highly dangerous, so there is reason for why they are limiting the use. You can go back and look on the internet. There's been horrific incidences of people misusing these products in other states that lead to death. So that is a good reason for them to limit it. But because of that, if they want to use that product, they have to get a new private applicator certificate option that is specific to burrowing vertebrates. We call it the BVF, the burrowing vertebrate fumigation. There's a free study manual on the Department of Pesticide Regulations website. They could go to DPR's website, just type in BVF study exam. It'll pop up. It's a huge study manual that's like 100 and something pages. It's got really good practice questions at the end of each chapter. So if the growers, we've only had one grower come in, take the exam, and pass without studying. Everyone else will come in and they'll just fail it. So we highly recommend if growers really want to use those products, they go get the download the study exam. If they can't do that, send them to our office. We will print it out for them, and they can take it home. It's free. This time of year, we're getting a lot of walnut theft prevention, or we have an ordinance for walnut theft prevention. This last weekend, earlier today, we've been getting tons of phone calls. It's the time of year where walnut theft just spikes. So we do have an ordinance in place. Walnut growers can take their walnuts directly to processing facilities, but if they are not the actual grower, they will be required to get a proof of ownership. And we have a walnut buying, selling period that doesn't start, usually starts around November 1st. It's at the end of the harvest of the Chandler variety of walnuts. So once Sutter-Yuba County Ag Commissioners declare the buying period open, it'll go all the way through April, and so then they're allowed to sell if you are not the actual grower. So they'll have to get one of these. Oh, this next 4 or 5 slides is just me complaining. Nothing you guys can do to help with this. Just let me vent. Industrial hemp, it's a big thorn on our side. It's too much time and too many resources, literally costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is industrial hemp. On paper, looks like a great product. That's how it could be grown. You know, ideally, it is great. I got lots of hemp clothing that I've picked up over the years, hemp products, fantastic. However, what we're dealing with is stuff more like this. They look like little, that's not a great picture, but Christmas trees that are fantastic looking, very potent. We deal with a lot of greenhouses that look like this, that usually when we test them, they test too high to be considered hemp, so we have to put destructive orders on there, and then they disappear by U-Haul trucks in the middle of the night.
So when you're saying test too high, they're testing like orders of magnitude too high, not like point.
There was more, yeah, yes. Some, not all, some are just slightly over, and then they have the option to retest, and we can do that.
Okay.
Some, I don't know, 30%.
Yeah, so, okay,
It's not hemp.
right.
Other stuff we're dealing with the industrial
They
hemp.
came in the seed.
Other stuff we're dealing with is illegal pumps. So we usually end up getting code enforcement and the sheriff right along with us when we go to these sites. they look like chaos. Lots of pesticides just piled up. Luckily, these have labels still on them, so we know what they are. Half the time they're in other languages and we can't decipher what they even say, so we don't know what they are. And then the illegal electrical stuff going on out there for the grow lamps. Yeah. Something like that.
Fun times.
So other things we're trying to do, our office and the OEM office, Office of Emergency Management, we're trying to put a Sutter County Ag Pass program together. It's basically a program that will allow growers, farmers, ranchers to get into their property when there are emergency hazards. Typically, we would deal with in this area would be flooding. Other counties do it, have the same kind of program that deals with fires, but any type of hazard where they're limiting people's access to an area, this could allow them to have access to take care of certain stuff. It'll allow entry if deemed safe by law enforcement, only during daylight hours, limited access. It's just to help law enforcement know who's in and where. So if anybody, you guys know anybody who is interested, Nick Oliver, our assistant, he's kind of running that program. He's looking for people, ranchers, landowners, anybody who's interested in signing up. There's a few classes they have to take online and they get signed up for it. But Nick's going to be Nick Oliver will be the contact for that. They just came up with the idea last year because a bunch of counties have started doing stuff like this. And so we're trying to, it's brand new, just getting off the ground. We're still trying to figure out how to get it done. But we need growers to volunteer to help. Be the, proverbial guinea pig, I guess. Other stuff, issues we have is getting proper crop report information. We are required by the Food and Ag Code to submit a crop report to the Secretary of CDFA every year, and it needs to have basically estimated acreage yield, gross values of crop and livestock. Every county has to do it. So some stuff, our deputy, so Becky, she's in charge of this, Mendonza, she would like, if possible, help reaching out to some of the landowners that do not have restricted materials permits or operator IDs, because that's right now kind of how we are getting our information on what is grown, what land is being used for. So a lot of the pasture lands and range lands aren't getting calculated accurately. So I don't know, we're just kind of throwing out feelers and see if anybody has an idea of how to get those counted for more accurately so we can get a better value on our crop report. That's pretty much all I have. If you have questions, we have a Sutter Ag PUE email, phone number. We post most of our stuff on our Facebook page. I put out flyers for our classes back there, and then all of our business cards are up on the wall as you walk out the hallway. Any questions? Yes, Whitney.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna suggest our new livestock advisor, Andrea, as
Okay.
a contact for both of the
Yeah.
Ag Pass and for the other question you had about
Crop report, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have met her actually. I'm not sure.
We just met her the other day.
Okay,
She was at the last meeting when you guys were here.
but maybe we could arrange like a more
Yeah, no, we
formal meeting.
were
or
talking
something.
with her yesterday or the day before
Yeah.
about something. So yeah, she's on our radar.
Okay.
Quick question, when you have people verify that they are the owner of the walnuts, if they're trying to sell them, do you actually follow through and check with that on, ownership?
So that proof of ownership goes to the processing plant.
We haven't dealt with it in years,
Yeah.
but I remember like, in the early, 15 years ago, it was a huge deal, we had to lock everything up, but we never got this, I was just curious, like, it would need to be followed up, otherwise we
Yeah.
could essentially bring you anything.
It's, so that's a different, it's not my program. I'm not 100% sure how they deal with it. That's the CDFA ag side of the office, they deal with those complaints. So I don't know for sure, my guess would be that it would be followed up with if there was a complaint. So I don't know, they're not probably going through and making sure, but they have to have that in order to do it. I know some processing plants, they won't take the walnuts, if it's not the grower selling it to them, they won't take it without them having that. But I mean, it's just a form, I don't know.
Yeah, it would just be interesting whether it's
Yeah.
followed. That would be a key part of
Yeah.
that.
It would be, I guess, it would be something that would come back later and then we could send out cards later if it turned out something's not accurate on that. That's kind of how we deal with things after the fact.
Can you go back to that very first slide?
Sure.
That was just a nice overview of, yeah. It was the one that had all your different programs.
Let me go to the beginning. Go, one more. That one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of our office setup, how, yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Nope, I have to leave at 3:30, so if anybody needs anything from me before then or wants to talk, I gotta leave then, so, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, so we're getting ready to have a break. But before I do, we had somebody who came in, and so I just want her to, introduce herself, and let me pull up what we need for her to do.